going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Big Man Podcast. And today we got a very, very special guest. We just gonna jump right into it. Shayla Hyde, what's up?
Everything's, well, good, to be honest. As of now, anyways. I have a lot of stuff going on. But
No,
everything's good. What about yourself?
I'm all right. I'm all right. And things are looking up. A lot of big moves, and we'll get into that a little later on in the podcast. But first things first is how you feeling?
I'm still on cloud nine from March.
Well, you just wanna hop into it?
Oh, we can do that if you
We
want.
can do that. Why not? Why not? All right. So well, let's start into how I first saw you, which was everybody. Shayla Hyde was recently on Raw as a different name. What was the name you used on Raw?
Joan King.
Joan King. Okay, and she wrestled the current at this point Raw Women's Champion Nia Jax, and
Yes.
Miss Shayla Hyde followed me on Twitter, and I was like, oh, for sure. Like I looked at it because it was kind of like a picture of the girl on Raw, so I'm thinking it's like a fan page or whatever. But I realized that this is like the
Legit.
actual woman from Raw. So I was like, I went straight to the DM. I was like, this is an opportunity. She followed me, so I feel like I have the G14 classification to ask, I guess. And here we are today. So, if you could just like, how did you even get that spot? I heard it was like a job application, almost like literally you just sign up online, and if they call you, there you go.
Well, it's a lot more complicated than that, actually. I did have help with Sean Mullen, which is TNT bookings. He had actually gotten me the spot and got me the connection, and they emailed me. They didn't call me. Everyone has that misconception that they like call you on the phone. They're like, "Oh, hey, we want you there." They emailed me. I didn't get a call, although I do have some people I've worked who has been with WWE, and they get calls now, but that's because they've worked for them for so much. And you do have to fill out an application, and it's for indie workers to fill out. Like they do their research, they do make sure you know what you're doing, kind of thing, before they just like throw you in the ring.
Okay. Where was that episode at?
Where?
Yeah.
Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan.
Okay. So are you from Detroit though?
No, I do live in Michigan, but I do not live in Detroit, which someone had wrote an article about it stating I had lived in Detroit, which I don't. So, and then they said I posted a cryptic video message, and I'm like, I didn't post any cryptic message. Like, get your facts straight, damn it. Like, don't do that. I posted a GIF, okay, a GIF or a GIF or whatever you want to call it. That's like your personal preference. And they said, oh, she's from the Detroit area, and she posted a cryptic video message, and it's kind of like, what message? Like, you show me what message, and you show me where in Detroit I live, because I don't live in Detroit.
Right. So you already dealing with the rumor and innuendo already, even and you're not even on the main roster yet.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they kind of like started that rumor, and like I was kind of in shock and everything. Like my husband had actually recorded it on his phone and everything, and he's just laughing his ass off. Like I'm like, what is so funny? Like when I had saw it, because I didn't actually watch the match until maybe about 2 or 3 weeks after the match, and I was listening to the audio he had done. And he's just like, and he's just laughing. And he finally told me, he's like, I realized you actually listened to me. And I'm like, because I'm one of those people, it can look like I am not paying attention whatsoever. And I could be like, right now, I could be playing a game and you would think I'm not listening to you, but I am actually listening to you and everything. And it's like my husband seems to forget that. So it's kind of funny.
Right. So you said something real interesting that you didn't watch the match back till 2-3 weeks later. Is that because I get that feeling sometimes like you don't need to watch it back because you were there, you know what happened, and I'm sure you remember every moment quite vividly, right?
Oh my god, yeah. Like, I was originally gonna watch it with my mom, but she had already seen it because she watched it live, and she didn't realize it was me, so it was kind of funny. And I actually remember thinking, like, I can't bring myself to watch this. Like, I just can't. And my brother, I have a little angel photo frame, and it has my brother's photo in it because he had passed away, and he was my biggest supporter. And I remember playing on my computer, and I had looked, and I had it up behind me. And I'm like, I need to watch that match. And as soon as I started watching it, like, I just started crying. Like, I don't even think I finished the match. Like, I was in tears. Because it's like, holy shit, this actually happened. It wasn't just a dream.
So during the match, it was what's the technical term for enhancement match? Is that what they call it? Like,
I don't recall, I should say. Like, they probably did use that term, but I don't recall what term they actually used for it. So.
Okay. But basically, for the people who watch the podcast and don't know all the wrestling terminology, basically Shayla Hyde was in there to make Nia Jax look good, which she did. It was real quick. It was maybe like 45 seconds to a minute. She gave you like basically a people's elbow and then a Samoan drop. And did that Samoan drop hurt? Because it looked kind of stiff.
It wasn't stiff, but the gravity was not on my side, so I did kind of like feel the impact of it. But like my adrenaline, and this is what the misconception people have with wrestling. They're always like, oh, it's fake and everything, but they don't realize the adrenaline, like, that's the reason we don't feel it, is because our adrenaline is so high. It's almost like when someone's on drugs or something like that, like, they don't feel anything really at all. That's kind of like how wrestling is with the adrenaline. It's like the adrenaline is a high for me. It's for everybody, in my opinion, who does wrestling. So we don't feel it, but you do feel it later on that night. Like, I didn't feel the initial pain from it at first. But again, my adrenaline was high, so obviously I wasn't going to feel it. And then later that night and on the way home and everything, that's when I started feeling it and everything. And I'm like, holy shit, can I take another? Can my life just pause, and for the remainder of my life, can I just keep replaying that 47-second match? Like, everyone's like, oh, you weren't even in there for a minute, but I was still there.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't matter how long I was in the ring with Nia Jax. It doesn't matter how long I was there and everything. It just matters that for someone who's always been told I was too small to do this, I was a girl, I couldn't do this. Basically, I've been told I wasn't pretty enough to be a WWE diva at the time and everything, or now I'm not pretty enough to be seen on TV by WWE. I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm too that. And it's like, for that 47 seconds, I was on national TV, and then the following Monday, they had used it in another, they used a small split of it and everything, so I was seen basically 2 Mondays in a row. But those 47 seconds shut hundreds of people up in my life who have always said, you can't do this, you're too fat, or you're not pretty enough, or you're a girl, and
for sure.
Stuff. So it's like those 47 seconds to me, as of now, is my favorite moment of my entire life, and I'm actually starting to tear up about it. But
yeah, I can see. Yeah, you definitely you won.
Yeah, it just amazed me, and it's actually kind of funny because one of the people who would tell me, oh, you can't do that, you're a girl, or you'll never amount to that, was actually my old stepdad. And his kids were a huge fan of WWE, so a part of me at the end of that, I'm like, I hope to God he saw that, because that was a huge smack in the fucking face for that asshole.
Right.
I mean, it sounds bad, but
No, it makes sense though. It makes sense. Don't doubt people, you know. But if anything, you used it as a positive because to me it seemed like out of all the negativity, it was only fuel to the flame, and it made everything work. But you said something again interesting about the adrenaline and everything with that. Okay, so this is why I admire wrestlers, by the way, so much, and I have the utmost respect for anybody who has enough courage to even get in the ring because people don't realize that hurts. It hurts. You know what I'm
oh,
saying? So I was supposed to be a wrestler, like since like I was like before I can remember, like I was supposed to be The Rock. That was my thing, right? So as you get to a certain age and you start watching a little more documentaries about the ins and outs of it, and you go to these wrestling schools just to like for me, I was just watching just to see if I really want to do this, and that's why I realized that I'm not built to get beat up on the regular like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I have the most respect because I was up close. I'm not gonna tell like who I went to see because the guys were sweethearts when I went to see them.
yeah,
They were very, very welcoming. They were down to earth. They were cool. But that ring, it was tore up. The ceiling, like if I jumped off the top rope, my head was gonna hit the ceiling, basically. And it just didn't look like it wasn't a proper environment for me to like put my money up to train and land on my back every day. So I was
yeah.
like, I backed off of that and I transitioned heavily into the broadcast world because I still love to talk to people in a live audience and in front of people, whatever the case may be. But people don't realize that, man, that ring is no joke.
Oh, dude, no. I remember sitting in the arena before they told me that I was going to be used. I was watching them set up the ring, and I'm like, this explains a lot. Like, because the ring setup for WWE is completely different for an indie ring, so I could never figure out why was their ring so quiet. Like, unless you were getting slammed or something, you didn't really hear anything. But like, if you go to any indie show, you hear them running, you hear us doing everything basically. But there you kind of, so that kind of opened my eyes a little bit on the major difference between a show and a production.
Right.
Like, so
Wait, so is the WWE ring, do it got some give to it rather than the independent wrestling ring?
I want to say that it was, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, when I was told I was going to be facing Nia, I went around to the barricade and I was in the ring, and oh my god, that was like so nerve-wracking because I had like Sasha Banks was out there, like Paige was out there, like all of these women who wrestle for him were out there, not to mention the guys were just out there and they're watching me, and I'm like, this is a little
That was
nerve.
pretty, yeah, right. I can only imagine. So what did they do? Have you run ropes or?
Yes, as anyone who has done any type of physical activity, you have to like loosen up and everything, especially when you're in a very, very nervous predicament. You have to really loosen up. You have to shake the nerves kind of thing. And I would not say that the ring had give or anything. I would say it was nice, I guess is the term I would use for it. I don't know the exact wording I can use for it, but I would say it's definitely nice. Like any independent worker who's listening to this, like who maybe has an upcoming um tryout with them, like you're gonna love it.
Okay, so it is as safe as can be. Let's go with that.
Yes. Like, I've worked in some indie rings, like, that were just horrible. Like, there was boards sticking up. Like, you could see it, like, sticking up the mat. Like, it wasn't a level ring. And it was just horrible. But, dear God, like, I stepped into that ring, and I was loosening up and everything, and I felt like I was in fucking heaven.
Cool. So let's talk about the it's this thing. And as a fan, I'm curious. So I'm just gonna throw some out there at you. Uh, this is the famous gorilla position. This is apparently we all like the the big dogs of the company just like sit there and they watch the show and they produce and they're right there like right behind the stage, and that's where you walk out, that's where you go back. And like, how is that, like after a match you go back and like Vince McMahon and Triple H and all these people are just like right there, like
Oh my god, like that's the one thing that like scared me to death, because I didn't know Vince was there.
apparently he is at every show.
Yeah, I thought that was just a rumor, because you know how rumors start. Like, you
Right.
can't really, like nowadays you can't really believe anything anybody says.
For sure.
I didn't know he was there, so it was really intimidating.
I can only imagine.
Well, it's like people don't understand, when I was growing up and watching this, it was like the Attitude Era, so anytime I saw Vince smile, that meant something bad was about to happen. Like, it's like, oh, Vince is smiling, something fucked up, like something's wrong. Like, so it was kind of very, very intimidating. Like, just seeing the McMahons in general was like very fucking intimidating for me. But I actually walked out there with John Cone during commercial break,
And
which
that's
everyone can probably that.
that's a referee, correct?
Yes, that is the referee who reffed the match. And oh my god, I actually remember this pretty vividly. Like, we stopped at the top of the ramp, and he just said, "Breathe it in." I looked around, I looked at him, and I'm like trying so hard not to cry, because my makeup was looking nice. Like, the TV did not do me justice on my makeup. Like, I remember looking at him, and I was just like, holy shit. Like, I didn't think about that, but I just like went, holy shit. Because everyone's like, oh, dude, it's never as packed as they make it seem. No, that mother was packed. Like,
Especially if you were wrestling in Detroit, the Midwest. Like I'm a Chicago boy, so the Midwest is like real wrestling heavy. So if you're doing the Midwest show, more than likely it'll be packed.
oh yeah, like, just even thinking about it, like, my heart is starting to race. But then after the match, we didn't go back up the ramp. We went, like, kind of around. Like, if you go back and look at Amazing Maria, who had a little thing with, not Nia Jax, Asuka, and then Nia Jax intervened before the match starts. She goes running up beside the ramp. That's kind of what happened. Yeah, I don't even, but yeah, and then went back to the Gorilla, which it kind of shocked me, because I never ran into any indie promotion that said Gorilla, so I was kind of confused, like, what? What the fuck is that? Because I've never, like, I've heard the term before, but I guess I never really associated the term with the entrance.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
So who was all back there though, other than like Vince? Was it just like Triple H and Stephanie and Shane, or the regulars?
It was the regulars, to be honest, and then like all the refs were back there, because you know how they interchange. So, and then yeah, it was, oh my god, like I remember I was talking to Shane McMahon, and let me tell you, now that was fucking nerve-wracking, because it's like, oh my god, if I fuck up, like.
Okay, so Shane is on all the shows too then, because that was Raw, and Shane on TV at least is on SmackDown, so.
Yeah, oh my god, like, it was so nerve-wracking. And I remember telling him, I said, yeah, and I was joking, but I was being serious at the same time. I'm like, yeah, in our household, you're known as Heart Attack Shane, because of the shit he does. I told him, I said, like, me and my husband will be watching something, and be one of your matches, and you go flying off the cage, and we're like, I'm just like, holy fuck, Shane, stop doing that. You're giving... I said, we've dubbed you basically Heart Attack Shane because of that, and he was pretty cool.
He was cool. Yeah, you hear a lot of cool stories about Shane. So, with that, like how early do you gotta be there? Like, what time? And what do you do like all day while you waiting to get called out there? Like, are you in catering? Are you just shaking hands and chilling backstage? Or?
Okay, let me give you a rundown. Sunday for Fastlane, I was there. I had to leave. I don't know. Me and one of the paramedics had rode together. He was a paramedic for Fastlane and SmackDown. and we left here about 7 in the morning. Didn't get home until fucking 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Then for Raw, because I only live like 2.5 hours from Detroit, so we didn't have to like leave super early. So we left here about 10, 11. So without telling you what time I had to be there, that kind of gives you a good idea.
Right.
And then for the one in Indianapolis, we left, like, we got back about 1, 2 o'clock, and we had to leave about 7 o'clock in the morning to get to Indianapolis. So that kind of gives you a good rundown about how much sleep we had gotten. But I still wouldn't change it for the world. I loved every second of it. It was amazing.
And that's only a small taste of the workload that they have to go through.
And I kind of love it. And this is going to sound really wrong, but I really loved it only because I love being on the road. I love traveling. So I think that's it.
No, that'll definitely work if you're trying to be a wrestler. You'll be fine.
No, it just sounded really wrong because I was just thinking, can I stow away in one of their luggage and just like join them for the rest of their tour?
Right, exactly.
Like, I love it. I don't want this to end. I want this to keep going. Like, but like the entire time it was mostly we were just watching the TV and soaking up as much information from everything.
Exactly.
Basically.
Okay, well, to get into a little bit of more of Shayla Hyde, the independent wrestling star. So for the past couple of days, I've been on just straight Shayla Hyde watch, right? So it's a couple things that I want to ask you. First of all, who trained you?
I had actually gotten trained when I was about 16 by a company called TXWE. They're no longer in function, I guess, in operation. But I was so young, I didn't realize the difference between legitimate and illegitimate training. Like, I knew the definition difference of them, but I didn't know there was like I figured in wrestling you can go to anyone basically, and they were legit. Not saying this company wasn't legit, but they weren't the best. And then I went and got more training done by Phil Nitro Monahan and Ray Orndorff.
Okay, cool.
So if you saw my first match, like my very first matches, and you saw my matches now, you can see that I have improved quite a bit, and I would have to say probably in a very short time span.
Right, so wait, what year was that? You said you were 16, so what year did you start wrestling?
2012.
2012, okay. So relatively, not new, but still, yeah, pretty much still new to the game. So I watched a few matches, right? And it was this one against a woman named Angel. Was it Ariel Angel? Arella Angel, for sure.
I call her my wrestling mom.
Oh, really? So it's a strong relationship between the two?
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. That only started because a supporter who was at the show had asked, oh, so does I see your daughter, wrestles or something along those lines, and they thought I was her daughter.
Oh, okay.
Because we do look quite a bit alike. We both have, her hair is, naturally brown, and she has brown eyes. I have brown eyes, brown hair. We have some of the same facial structure. So we do look like we could be related. So I call her my wrestling mom, and her husband's my wrestling dad.
Right. So you guys had this match for the women's championship for that company. I believe it was CIW.
Yes. That's my trainer's promotion.
For sure. So you guys had a pretty good match, and then this dude in a yellow polo and a yellow scarf came out, and he tripped Angel, and you got her for the roll up. And then after the match, I believe the promoter or the GM of that show came out, and he I don't want to really give you the belt, but here you go. And you were like, I don't even know who this dude is. And I was totally oh, that's bullshit. You know who that is. Yeah.
honest to God, like, that was the day that happened. That was the first time I met him.
Oh, really?
So I legitimately did not really know who he was. So I wasn't lying. I didn't know who he was.
So how did that story end up going? This random dude just came out, helped you win the world championship. You don't even know who he is, but you like, we'll go with it. Because you let him raise your hand at the end. You was like, I don't know you, but for sure. Like,
it was supposed to be, he was supposed to start coming out as my manager, but something happened. So storyline kind of got...
As usual with wrestling, everything changes so fast. So the original storyline was what, like, he was just eyeballing you, and y'all were just supposed to go with it, I guess.
Basically, yeah. He was supposed to be my manager, so to speak, or he was supposed to be like my Paul Heyman, but not as good on the mic.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, he definitely dressed the part. When he came out, I was like, who the hell is this dude? Like, what is this?
I think I actually, like, in that match, I think at the end of it, I called him a wannabe golfer or something like that.
Yeah, it was like, you looked like a reject polo player or something like that. It was funny.
Something like that.
So, one thing I really, really noticed about your work, other than you just being a good wrestler, is there is this really corny stereotype when it comes to independent wrestlers not knowing how to the psychology part of wrestling. Like, they don't know how to do it, they don't know how to work a crowd. And I feel like when I'm watching you, that's probably what stood out the most, is that 50% of the match was the crowd was involved, and you were yelling at kids, and kids were yelling at you, and you're taunting people, and that's what I see with a lot of indie wrestlers. I don't know why they have the stereotype that independent wrestlers don't know how to work crowds. But
I like, it's one of those things, like, I've ran into some people who say that, and then when I ask them, well, have you actually been to a show? Or are you just going off of matches that are probably several years old and probably that person's first match, so they weren't sure how to do it and everything? And usually they just stop talking to me after that.
Right. So from that standpoint, like, is that just a natural thing? Are you just out there having fun and free balling? Or did somebody pull you aside one day and was like, yo, if you really want to get over in this business, you got to work the crowd?
I kind of feel like I've just always done that. I've gotten a little bit more out of my shell with it, though. But I'm the youngest of 8. I've done cheerleading where you have to interact with the crowd. So I think it just, at a point, it just comes naturally for me to interact with people. But I do know, I can't remember what promotion I was at. And I actually want to say it was Tatanka. Yeah, it was Tatanka. And if it was Tatanka, it was at CIW. So it was at CIW, and sorry. And Tatanka had been the one who told me, like, you need to be a little more active with them. Like, you're active with them good, but then you'll stop, and then you'll start back up. Like, try to do it all at once, like, the entire time. Not like, a little in the beginning, nothing in the middle, and then a little at the end. Like, do it the entire time.
Right.
So,
well, shout out to Tatanka, first of all. That's very random, but great at the same time. Shout out to Tatanka. That's an OG in the game. So I watched this other match with you, and it was against a woman named KO Kendra, and you guys were like outside or whatever, and kids were like cursing at you.
Oh, yeah, dude, I remember that one so much. Like, they were chanting "Burn the Witch," and even, like, after my match, there was a gay guy that was there. And this was, like, a really small town, and these parents, and I am not even kidding you, these parents were telling these kids to go up to this guy and basically say, you're a faggot. You're gay. You don't deserve to live. And all this other stuff. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, which one are you doing this? Because I might be short, but I am feisty as fuck, and I will kick your ass. You do not teach kids that.
Right.
Like, they should have their own opinion on things and everything. But I do remember that match, and oh my god, like, that pissed me off. I was pretty proud of the kids for chanting "Burn the Witch," because that was the first time I heard that.
Okay. And by the way, since we on the burn the witch thing. That is your gimmick. You're basically like you're a witch. Like that's the gimmick, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we saw you. You got some pretty cool ring gear, and like you paint half the face green.
Well, I used to do that, but I had to stop because of the fact that it started like really bugging my skin. No matter what I would put on before I'd actually put the paint on, it just really like I'd start breaking out really bad. My skin would be a greenish color from it. It'd start itching. So I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. So I don't do the paint anymore, unfortunately.
But you still are the witch.
Yes, I still do the witch.
Who came up with that? Was that you, or did you have some help on that?
No, that was actually my trainer, Phil Monahan. He had, because originally I was doing like a Jacqueline Hyde kind of thing, where I was like half Dorothy and half the witch, and then people completely ignored the Dorothy side, and they wanted more of the witch side. So I'm like, okay, well, fuck off, Dorothy.
Right.
Going through. So my trainer came up with the gimmick, but my supporters made the gimmick.
Okay, for sure. One more match that I wanted to get into. You went against Tenshi, I believe that was her name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a very interesting one. And another thing with the psychology part is that, okay, so I guess she wanted you to bow down before she wrestled you.
Yes.
And you were just kind of confused about it, so you just went with it and did it, and then she used it as a sneak attack. Like, it's stuff like that. It's little things like that in professional wrestling that I just can't get enough of. Because it's more than just, to me, it's more than just the moves. I believe the crowd is a very important part. And little silly kind of stuff like that to get over on somebody is always great.
Yeah.
For sure. I did see a Tough Enough tryout video
God,
for you.
I'm so embarrassed about
I'm not gonna lie, I did laugh. I got a laugh out of it.
I'm like, well, the sad part is like, in reality, I'm like really corny and cheesy. Like, I'm doing goofy shit like all the time. And now, like, years later after that, I'm like, oh my God, I could have done so much better. But yes, it did work because I had ran into Sonya and Mandy while I was with WWE, and I was actually telling them how I watched them in Tough Enough, and Sonya's like, oh, well, that's embarrassing. And I'm like, whoa. I said, don't be embarrassed about that. I said, I got an email from them, but I wasn't selected. She's like, oh, you got past the first step. And I'm like, really? I was like this close with that corny-ass video, and I wasn't selected. So I'm hoping they do another one. I really do hope they do another one, and I hope I get selected this time. Fingers crossed.
So with Tough Enough, from I've been watching Tough Enough since it came on, and usually they don't pick people that wrestle already, right? They usually just like kind of pick people that.
No, this last one around was actually people who did, like, some did wrestle in the indies, some didn't. Like, they had Patrick Clark, he wrestled in the indies.
He's doing well now, by the way, too. He's doing pretty good.
He's doing well. Chelsea Green, she wrestled in the indies. Now she's wrestling for TNA. I actually think those were the only two who wrestled.
Yeah, usually people who wrestle already never make it, and if they do make it, they never win. But I feel like winning Tough Enough is almost a curse. Like, who won and actually did something?
Like, you have, wasn't Mandy runner-up, and now she's on the main roster?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, and the girl who won, I ain't seen her since the show.
Oh, that's, she was down in NXT, but she wasn't improving fast enough, from what I read. So I don't know if this is true, but she wasn't improving fast enough, so they had to let her go. Like, she wasn't showing any signs of improvement, and then people were so pissed off because after they had let her go, she had found out she was pregnant. So people are like, oh, WWE fired a woman for being pregnant. No, they fired her for something else. She didn't come out about being pregnant until after she was fired.
All right, for sure. But so basically, speaking of other promotions, so let's say, I see a little bit of ROH trying to get into like a Women's of Honor kind of division going on over there. Of course, Impact Wrestling has a very used to have a very popular women's division at one point. Like if an Impact Wrestling, even now that because when you think TNA, so many negative things come up in my mind, at least for something that was so fun at one point. Even now, would you still take that opportunity to go wrestle for them?
Yeah. I love wrestling. Like, yes, my main goal is to get a contract with WWE, but if I have an opportunity to go learn from more people in the business, like whether it's TNA, ROH, New Japan Pro Wrestling, I'm going to take it.
So you will be willing to go to Japan too?
Hell yeah, I love Japan.
I can kind of see that from your Twitter. You're a big anime fan.
Oh yes, I am in love with Japan. Like, my mom used to get so mad at me because I would tell her I was born in the wrong nationality, and she's like, "You were born American. You should be proud of that." I said, "Yeah, I should be, but I'd be happier if I was born in Japan because they have a lot of cool shit over there." And let me clarify, I'm not downing Americans whatsoever. I am just saying, if I could have chosen my nationality, I would have chosen Japan.
All right. Well, I'm with it. So, what's with New Japan's women's division? Do they have a women's division? I've never seen
Honestly,
any.
I'm not quite sure because I've been working so much, and I don't even know if I should say this or not, but I've been working a lot, and me and my husband are doing what married couple do, and so I haven't really been focusing on it a lot. I feel kind of ashamed by that, but I want to say I don't think they actually have a stable women's division, but I'd still go.
For sure.
Even if it was just to be like a valet or manager, I would still go, and I would soak that up. Like, I told my husband, I'm like, I'm telling you right now, if I were to get an email today stating, like, from any Japanese promotion that's a legitimate promotion stating they wanted me out there for 6 months, I'm not even hesitating. I'll be calling you and be like, I'm going to be gone for 6 months because I'm going to the country I've been wanting to visit since I was 5. So,
right, for sure. So with that being said, WWE is clearly the main goal, I think, for anybody aspiring to be a professional wrestler. But you said Tough Enough. What about NXT? Because that seems like the spot right now.
Oh yeah. I'm not like AJ Styles, so they're not just gonna offer me a main roster contract.
Right.
Or James Ellsworth. I'm not him either. So I would definitely go down to NXT first.
NXT first. How does that work? Do they call you, or do you try to get in, do you use your connects with that? Or?
I have no idea, to be honest. Like, there's like a misconception is that like every wrestler knows exactly what needs to be done to get to the step they want to, and it's like, we don't. We really don't. Like, I mean, look how long it took AJ Styles to get to WWE and like stay with WWE, not be there for like a very short time. So I honestly have no idea how to do that.
Okay. So I just noticed that I almost got you for around 40 minutes, so I'm gonna ask you a few more questions. I'm gonna let you go, I promise. Okay.
No, you're good. I'm the only one at my house right now, and it's very lonesome.
I got you. Okay, so what's a dream match for you? Somebody, one person, one woman that you could wrestle.
Mickie James, hands down.
Mickie James? Is that your favorite?
Oh God, yes. Like,
really, Mickie James?
Oh my God, yes. I adore Mickie James, and oh my God, she's such a. I love her to death. I actually got a chance to talk to her while I was at WWE, and
was it hard to keep control?
Oh my God, yeah. Because I'm like, her, Trish, and Lita were like my main inspiration to be a wrestler. And when I was younger, they were doing that Piggy James storyline, and I was getting picked on for being fat. and everything. And I remember always thinking, well, Mickie James can get through this. I can get through this. I mean, she has it at a huger scale than I do, and she can survive it. So can I.
I hope you told her that, by the way.
I did tell her
Okay,
that.
that's
And
good
I'm
because that probably really made her day.
like, oh my God, I'm just starting to tear up just thinking about it. But it was like so unreal. Like, I remember, oh my God, when I went around the barricade and I was sitting there, she was helping me and everything. And all I'm thinking is like, can I pause this moment and like take a picture of it, please? Like, please, God. And it was just so unreal. Like, I would love to face Mickie James, like, so much, because it would basically be like the saying, train to your idols become your rivals, and that's basically what it would be for me. So, yeah, hands down, I would definitely pick Mickie James. Like, I'm crying right now. just thinking about all, like, everything, and it's like, she called me a baby because she asked me how old I was, and I'm 23, and she's like, oh, you're a baby. And I'm like, sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, you definitely got some time because the way Mickie James is looking nowadays, she ain't going nowhere no time soon. She keep herself in shape, so.
I'm really hoping, like, WWE has me back soon and they have me face Mickie James. Like, I'm like, I could die happy after that and be completely satisfied with my life. But yeah, I did tell her about that and everything, and I'm just all gushy. Just like, this is actually something I posted on Twitter a while ago when Paige was forced to retire, and now she's the SmackDown general manager. She had actually helped me in the back too, and because I was getting so nervous. And when I'm nervous, like, you can always tell when I'm really nervous, even like doing podcasts and stuff and everything, my southern accent comes out, and it comes out in full force. I start stumbling over my words and I can't speak right because I'm so nervous. Well, I was starting to tear up. So I'm like, oh my God, I can't cry because I just got my makeup done and this took a hell of a long time to do and I don't want to ruin it and have to go get it fixed. And she told me, she's like, what's wrong? And I told her what's wrong. And then here comes Corona and he's like, oh, Paige is being, I'm like, actually, I've always been told Paige is really nice. So I was walking around with Paige backstage and everything, and actually, because of Paige, it made that so much more rememberable for me. Because of her, I was able to talk with, well, obviously, Paige, Bailey, Sasha, Mickie James.
So they more than anything, they had you with the girls, though. So is that like, is it divided? Like, is everybody just walking around, or is it just girls here, guys here?
No, everyone's kind of just like really just walking around. It's definitely like, in that perspective, it's like an indie show. Like, everyone's kind of doing their own thing, kind of thing.
Right.
But talk to the 205 Live general manager.
Rockstar Spud. I forgot his WWE name. I'm sorry.
His name always escapes me, and I don't know
why. It's Drake Maverick. That's his name on WWE, for sure.
I gotta talk with Drew. I can't say his name. Drew Gullet.
McIntyre. Drew McIntyre.
No.
Oh no! You're talking about Gulak. Drew Gulak.
Yeah. Yes.
For sure.
Obviously Nia. Right. Obviously, I kind of faced her, so you have to kind of like get a feel for each other. Right. And then I actually had a very, very small conversation with John Cena.
Oh, nice.
And that was a little intimidating too. I was actually just waiting until my time, just sitting back, hanging out with everybody, and I kept looking over, and he just kept pacing back and forth. And I'm like, okay, I feel like really awkward because everyone in this area knows my name except him. So I'm going to try to like say hi to him and introduce myself without stopping him in what he's doing. So I did. And I was actually telling him about my stepson who, when we first got him, I would be like, you know, John Cena wouldn't do that because he's a huge John Cena fan.
Right.
I'm like, John Cena wouldn't do that. John Cena would listen. And he's like, and before he was like, oh my God, I got to be like John Cena. I have to listen. Like, I can't act up. I have to listen. I have to be like John Cena. Then he got smart. And he's saying, you don't know John Cena.
Well, now you do.
So, that because I said I wanted to thank him because of him. My stepson will act right. And I told him, I said, but then he got smart and told him all that. And he's like, well, you tell him you do know John Cena. John Cena wouldn't do what he's doing. So every time my stepson's starting to act out, like, I tell him that. Like, I tell him, I'm like, John Cena wouldn't do that. You don't know that. I do know that because John Cena told me John Cena wouldn't do that, so he wouldn't do that.
Exactly. Okay, that was fun. Another question. This is a two-parter. Favorite match all time, and then if you could, for the people who don't know you yet, if you could recommend a match that they can look up of you to go watch, what would it be?
Like a favorite match of mine all time, or just
right, something that you've watched.
That's actually really hard to say.
Oh, you can give me some off the top of your head, a couple off the top of your head, possibly too.
I really enjoyed watching the Lita and Trish feud.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed the Mickie James and Trish feud.
I hated that as a kid. I was such a Trish stan. I was so mad. I was like, who is Mickie James? Where did she come from? She just came out of nowhere. She won the belt. I was so upset, like, because I was such
what is this sorcery? As far as like matches, I would recommend for people anything with like me and Shauna Reed, me and Warrior Princess Tenchi, or me and Arella Angel.
Those would be the ones. Those would be the main people.
Yeah, because I've had a lot of good matches with Arella Angel, Tenchi, and Shauna.
Cool. All right. Plugs. What's your social media? On whatever.
Oh, all my social media is under Likeable Miss Hyde. So.
And what is that, like Twitter, Instagram, all that?
Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat.
And you, is that your YouTube page? I'm guessing it is. Just Shayla Hyde. There's a bunch of videos on there.
I think so.
You think so?
I keep losing my passwords for them. Like, here. I have my phone in front of me, so let me just...
For sure, because that's what I was watching matches on. It was just like Shayla Hyde YouTube. And I saw a few matches off that one.
Yeah, I'm so horrible with...
Nah, I mean, you're pretty easy to find, though, because all I did was type your name in and a bunch of stuff popped up, so it was...
Yeah, it's Shayla Vespa Hyde.
All right, and that's the YouTube page. Well, I greatly appreciate you. It was an awesome conversation. And, yeah, hopefully within the next few months or so, we could get you back on, pop in, see how you're doing, what matches you've been in, all that. Yeah, I had fun. Thank you.
Bye.